are there for females in the workplace and just society in general, that are specific to women?
Oh, I don't want to get political. Can I? I don't know.
No.
I mean, so before getting into politics, politically or whatever, speaking here, first and foremost, I would think insecurities are crazy, especially with social media and stuff. It is unreal how much pressure that puts on somebody and how scary it has become to share your opinion or your view or to go against the grain. That's really challenging. And it takes a lot of not so much courage, but just like a very hard shell to deal with it. And so I find it can be very difficult for anybody who is young to actually figure out who they are versus continuing to be a sheep, per se. There's a reason why there's been so many movements that have specifically targeted university-aged kids. And that's because they are still in the brain space of listening to a person of authority. Mm-hmm. And when you have these ideologies and propaganda, for lack of better words, that are really pushed through social media, that I'm sure is intentional, to completely disrupt you and to make you focus on things that are not worthy of focusing on, really. Most of the time, at least, it's so easy for that to dominate. And I think that young women, there is such an immense fear of not belonging and not fitting in. And I think there's so many girls that carry themselves very well, but you would never know how deep that ocean is, like deep inside. And they would never let you know the things that are actually really bothering them. I think too, this is where I'm getting a little political. There's been the feminist movement, to be honest with you, I think has been one of the saddest things to witness in society in many ways. I'm pretty sure just about everybody is a feminist, if you go by what the basic definition is. Mm-hmm. Women are doing incredible. Statistically, there's so many different things out there saying like, oh, well, women make less money than men. That's not true, actually. That's some cherry-picked data. That's not actually true. And I think that feminism has really taught women to not focus on the things that are going to provide them meaning in life, and then to also resent men. And there is no good winning situation with that. And it's actually quite incredible when you look at the statistics of women who probably closer to my age, I suppose, but who, left high school and they just started working the corporate ladder, and it was, oh, you work. There's a reason why we have declining birth rates. And to me, a lot of that is probably propaganda, really, of feminist movement. And I hate using the word propaganda, but I don't know what else to use. Yeah. Of the feminist movement, of just telling women like, hey, don't be a stay-at-home mom. You shouldn't be a mom. You should work. You need to work so we can have 2 incomes in one household and we can get rich off of you. But it's so empowering to you to do that. And it's fine. I listen, I'm a busy working woman too, but I think it's important to recognize that. Yeah. And those things that make you not focus on the thing that generally speaking, you are inherently made to do. Mm-hmm. And you see, and it's very sad to see, and statistically, and if you know anybody as well, women who have worked, and then usually around the ages of like 30 to 32, they hit that point where suddenly now they really want a family, but they don't have a stable relationship because they've been told men ain't, for lack of better words. Men also have grown resentful of women at that point in time because no girls want to date them because these girls are on this crazy hierarchy. And it's just like the feminist movement has destroyed so many beautiful things that made us able to thrive. And I'm talking like third wave feminist movement. There was definitely good things that the feminist movement did, obviously. But I think that's probably some of the biggest challenges is women. Unfortunately, we do have a ticking time clock. We do have a ticking time. What is the word I'm thinking?
Do you have the
ticking clock of time?
What's that clock? What's that?
The
biological
biological
Yeah,
clock.
right.
Thank
biological
you.
time clock or whatever. Yeah.
We do have that. There's no going back. And I can't tell you how many people I know, and I'm 28, but I have friends. Most of them are within about,
You're 28.
Yeah.
You've complained about being old like 5 times in this podcast.
I'm going
You're
on
only
82.
28. You're 28.
Yeah. Find me in a coffin. See ya. That's how I feel most days.
28.
So, have you seen the videos, the traditional wife videos or trad wives?
Trad
they
wife,
call
yeah,
them?
yeah.
Do you watch any of those? Do you get into that rabbit hole at all?
I've seen a handful, but it's not something I've really
Dove
gone
into yet?
Yeah.
No, okay. They're just they're interesting to me because they get a bad rap because like these women are staying at home and taking care of their husbands, they're taking care of the clothing, they're taking care of the food, taking care of the house. And I personally know that if I had to do that, that would be more work than my actual job.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not for you.
And it's not for most people.
Yeah.
But anybody that becomes a traditional wife that wants to do the traditional thing, they're looked down upon as like they're not being successful.
See, again, crazy third wave feminist movement stuff. And it's so bizarre because, like, think about that. Humans have been around for, I don't know, a long time. And we lived like that in relative peace.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way, right? Like that's a silly thought to have. But it's so crazy to me how in the last, I don't know, 40 years, let's say, there's been this trend of we want more women to work so that there's more tax dollars collected. I mean, really, what is the reason?
Yeah.
And we want women to work for this. And yeah, absolutely. There's tons of women who absolutely want to work. They don't want to have a family. Okay, go on. Like have at her. But I think just to have that forced where you now feel shamed for doing what you statistically are best at doing. Like I love folding laundry. I love baking. I clean my toilet once a week with a Q-tip. I'm a psychopath when it comes to cleaning. I love it. Like if I'm having a hard day, do you want to know what I do in the summertime at least? I go out in the backyard and I just pick weeds around my garden for hours and I get lost. And it's like all my stresses go away. Like, which is, again, psychotic.
Just quietly, or do you have music going?
No, just quietly.
Quietly?
Oh, I love it.
No headphones.
Hear the birds, the wind, that neighbor that I don't like talking crap about his girlfriend again. I don't even know.
Talking crap about his girlfriend?
On his phone?
Yeah, well, he goes for walks around the block. Oh, it's so annoying. But it's so juicy. I gotta tell Steven about this when he gets home.
What the neighbors said.
But yeah, I would say stuff like that is really, there's a lot of influences, and I don't think that a lot of them are actually really in your best interest.
So well, one of the things you mentioned that I think is really key is that
folding laundry.
All of this, all of this outside noise that's coming at you, and you have to be a strong personality to kind of take all that and say, no, this is who I am, and have a strong sense of self to know who they are outside of whoever wants to say that we should do, right? Do you think that's easy? It's harder for a female. Do you think females have a little bit prone to lack that self-esteem?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I would say even many men do as well. I think though women will have that same lacking of self-esteem, we'll call it, for much later in life than men do, though. Men, I think, I'm trying to remember like some data in my head as I'm talking about this, because I have looked into this before, but to my knowledge, at least, men usually will kind of have a wave like that where they maybe don't feel as worthy until usually about 25, roughly, from what I'm thinking of right now. Whereas women, you can have that feeling your entire life. And women too, you know what? Yes, women are absolutely more emotional. We are more sensitive. Why do you think we're such great mothers and caregivers? We have that instinct in us, even when we don't have children. It's just like you just have that bond. There's a reason why women friendships are very different than men friendships, you know? And it's because we're different. Yeah. And it's the differences that we have are beautiful, and they're so complementary to each other, which is one of the reasons why I think it's so sad how vitriolic the conversation has become of like men versus women. It's like, buddy, we need all of us. We need you. Like, why is there this narrative trying to tear that apart.
Do you think that, like you say, that men generally, by the time they're 25, have a sense of self, and women sometimes take a lot longer or never have that? Do you think that that comes from the media and the politicizing of like making sure that women are working, as opposed to taking care of families or taking care of their kids, or, you know, like even when my mom, like I move out and I start having kids, my mom's still wants to take care of my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's, I'm not saying that that's her job, but that's like something that she wants to do.
It's just natural.
Right?
Not
Whereas,
to all, of course, we're generalizing, but
yeah.
80, I always say the 80-20 rule, right?
yeah.
Yeah. He likes the 80-20 rule. He learned that last week. So
I did not learn that last
it's a
week.
good rule.
I've known that for a long time. Anyway.
but like, do you think that that is why women tend to not find their, not their purpose, but like their strength in who they are until later in life?
If I can be honest, and again, generalizing, but you know, statistically, at least, women tend to not find that until they have children. And after you have children, you have something in your life that you would do anything to protect. You would go against any grain, you know, to make sure that your child is going to be okay and have everything.
Yeah.
And I find that that is one of those things where men at times, you know, the biggest responsibility and priority can be work, let's say. It's the most common one, at least. Whereas women work, sure, but I find that it's like that instinctual fierceness of and dedication and all of that really, really comes after children in a way that you don't experience.
There's a
before.
nurture mode that kind of gets unlocked.
Yeah.
Well, there's pros and cons to it. Like women, they say mom guilt, right? When they're at work, they feel guilty about not being with the kids. When they're with the kids, they feel guilty about not being at work, right? Whereas a man can compartmentalize.
Yeah.
I'm at work now.
Yeah.
And now I'm at home.
Yeah.
And now I'm at camping.
Yeah.
Now I'm at the camp. Now I'm over wings.
I think it's tough out there, though. I really do. It was hard enough for me. It still continues to be. There's certainly people that very much have views in terms of all sorts of things that don't feel good when they share them, you know, and it makes you feel small or belittled, especially women in the workplace and all that. Like a lot of those are very real, valid feelings.
Yeah.
But I think probably like my best advice to anybody really is you can't push off what you actually want. And so many people do.
Yeah.
And that's really sad to me. And it's really sad to me the way that people treat each other as a result of that too. This is kind of like a bit of a sidetrack, but you know, have you ever realized people in your life that you know who are like really cruel, and you think about them and the fact that at one point or another, they probably had some sort of like a dream and they had goals and they had hopes and things that they desperately wanted and really wanted. And one by one, things happened that pushed them away from that or made them feel like they weren't worthy of it. They weren't going to get it, whatever. They didn't get that raise. And it's all of those little movements that end up turning somebody into a cruel and bitter person. And we can all get to be that person. And the reason why they feel that way is because they allowed themselves to be pushed time and time and time again. And those little times that you're pushed by not doing what is inherently in you, not doing what you really want, not speaking up when you feel like you should, all of those little pushes over time where you let yourself be pushed can have such horrible consequences for you later on in life. And not just you, for every single person around you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's important when you deal with someone who is, like you say, not a very nice person, even if you don't know them. It's like, they could be having a hard day.
Yeah, it's like there's something is
going on. And, and that's not even to suggest some people have mental instabilities too.
There's interactions that you'll have with people out in public, and you're like, sometimes you just gotta like brush it off as being that's who they are and just leave them be.
I want to ask you if about the M word. Have you discussed it?
The M word.